It's not a lecture. It's not a shir. It's a limud biyachad. I enjoy everyone getting involved, and that's a chabura. It's everyone's opportunity to learn.
A remark from Aaron.
That's that. I'm responding to Aaron's email. So Aaron said chabura refers to a petza, but it also refers to a limud biyachad.
But he said chavura with a bait.
Okay, that could be. That I'm gonna give Aaron. Okay.
And by the way, this is across the Gemara.
Okay, good. So we're gonna call it chavura now. Very good. So that's the idea. But it's really it's a pleasure to be back together, and to be learning together with the heter of Talmud Torah. So we go back to the sugya in Sanhedrin on Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. I wanted to try to. We have a few more in Yonim that we have to pick up still in Ibbur Hashanah to finish completely. And Amir Hashem, the whipped cream and cherry on top will be the brisker of Amir Hashem next week. I don't think we're going to get to it today, but we're going to learn. We're going to go weiter and then come back to a few different questions and try to connect it to the sugya of the Zman, which is us still in the Galus even after Tisha B'Av, and how that affects many different halachas. Tana Rabbanan, the Gemara on the bottom of Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. We learned this brisa last week. We're just going to repeat it again in order to analyze a few different topics in it. Tana Rabbanan, Ein ma'abernes hashana lo mipnei agdiyim v'lo mipnei hatloim. Let's just remember. Let's go back to the last brisa. Tana Rabbanan. This is all the halachas. This is about 10 lines up. The 3 words from the end. Tana Rabbanan. Ein ma'abernes hashana elim keinoisa tzricha mipnei adrachim. So we learned last week that there are certain purposes that don't have to do with the seasons, that don't have to do with the sun, and yet you still have the ability to be ma'aber. We analyzed last week a machlokes between the minchas chinuch and the tzlach, which we connected to be a machlokes. We thought the chidushei aran and the yad ramah. What is the power? Where do Chazal get the capacity? Suddenly, if there's a broken highway, or there's a certain street that has to be repaved, that's enough of a reason to have Ibbur Hashanah. So we had a major machlokes rishonim, which emanates whether or not atem afilu shogegim applies to only Kiddush HaChodesh, or it applies to even Ibbur Hashanah, and that was the machlokes the Minchas Chinuch Tzlach, which they on their own had this debate, and as we pointed out yesterday, they didn't have svarim. I was thinking about this Minchas Chinuch yesterday when the person speaking in the kino was talking about, I think it was Josh, who was speaking about that we have a kino on the svarim, on the little svarim that they have. Now we have so many svarim, and Josh was trying to be mechayev us that we now, when we read this kino, we should learn svarim. So I remember whenever I learned the Minchas Chinuch with my father always, Zichrono Livracha, always pointed out, you find out that the Minchas Chinuch, like we pointed out last week, the Minchas Chinuch is really a chidushei aran. What the Minchas Chinuch said on his own is a chidushei aran, but the Galus is, now we have footnotes. So now we could figure out where it is. The Galus is, Minchas Chinuch did it on his own, and he wrote it on tissues. He wrote the Sefer, they found it on tissues. And that's how the Minchas Chinuch wrote. It's just unbelievable. Chaval, we lost all the other svarim of the Minchas Chinuch, but Baruch Hashem, we were able to get his unbelievable work on the Sefer HaMitzvos of the Sefer HaChinuch. It's really incredible. So we learned a reason outside of the seasons that Bezdin have the ability to be Ma'aber Shana is because of the paths, and the bridges, or because the ovens for the Korban Pesach are not intact, they melted, or the Galus of Yisrael, Shenekru Mimkomon. What does that mean, Shenekru? Vadayin lo egian, but, meaning, we'll get back to that in a second, some sort of Galus Yisrael that now have a new area to live in, Avalom Pnei Hashelag, but not because of snow. We said snow days don't count for Ibbur Hashanah, even though you're not going to be able, it's going to be hard, it's going to be a struggle to come up to Eretz Yisrael, to be Oil Regel. So what do the Rishonim say? Put on some boots. V'lo mipnei hatzina, and not because it's going to be too frigid outside. Even if there's hail in the middle of the summer, it doesn't matter. You still have to come. V'lo mipnei galus Yisrael shaloi akru mimkomon, and not because of an exile shaloi akru mimkomon, which means the post can point out galus does not mean actually leaving your home, because the Gemara says there's a galus sha'akru mimkomon and there's a galus shalo akru mimkomon. Galus means living without hashras hashchina. Galus means living without a Beis HaMikdash. I did not change my location from yesterday, and I'm still in Galus, and not because I'm in Galus because I'm missing the opportunity of living in the Beis HaMikdash. I'm in Galus because I'm being ruled by a Donald Trump. That's Galus, or whoever your president is. As long as there's no Malchus Yisrael, that is the definition of Galus. Galus does not mean leaving Eretz Yisrael. Galus means not having the Malchus of Eretz Yisrael. So where is that Makom? That's question number one. Shalo nekru mimkoma. It sounds like it sounds like it's a description of the whole Galus. I mean, there's a certain Galus that doesn't have an Akiras Makom. Meaning, it's not that we're holding in a certain process. The Galus was Shaloi Nekrum Imkoman. Means there could be a Galus that now Malchus Yisrael is not in charge. Now there's another Ummah that's in charge. I still have the same house. I still have the same property line. I still have the same assets, but it's still a matzav of Galus. What was it Rashi?
I think very similar to what he said.
Rashi says, Bnei Galus Yisrael, Bnei HaGoyle HaRechoikim, there are Bnei HaGoyle that are far away. V'nishma leBezdin, and it was heard by Bezdin heard, the Shmuel was, Shenekrum Mkomam, that now they not only had a Galus, but they uprooted from their houses. Lalos l'regel, lasos pischeim. So now it's now going to be difficult for them to come on Aliyah l'regel and to bring a carbon pesach.
No, say that's already they're on their way. It seems like.
V'adayin lo higio shem lo yebrua lo yargila lava b'pesach. Adayin lo higio means they didn't get to their new location.
No,
back to Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
Right.
So they already left, and I'm.
No, that's exactly what. No, Rashi is just saying, since Shenek Rumum Koimon, that's why it's taking them. It's going to take them so long, and they're not going to be able to be Oil L'Regel and make it in time for the Korban Pesach. Okay, that's what Rashi says. Now, if you would ask Rashi, does Rashi say anything about Chutz La'aretz? Rashi doesn't say anything about Chutz La'aretz. I don't know 100% from Rashi. All Rashi says was they are nekrulim komon. Something happened, they were nekrulim komon, and it's going to be difficult for them to get back in time in order to do the Korban Pesach and to do Aliyah L'Regel. Tosfos clearly takes a stance on this. Umipnei Galus Yisrael shenekrulim komon, the third Taisis on the daf. Mishum dahanach diyasvi be'eretz Yisrael ein sarich la'abron. I have the following question. What happens if you have a Galus and people are moved around and mishkababbled within Eretz Yisrael? Instead of living in Yerushalayim, now you live in Bnei Brak. And instead of living in Bnei Brak, now you live in Tveria. Because the Malchus Messiah, you didn't go all the way to Bavel, you didn't go all the way to America, but you're still within the borders of Eretz Yisrael. Taisa says, even though you have a new house, and even though it's complicated, and even though your trip's going to be much longer, that's not what we're talking about in our Gemara. That does not lend itself for Ibbur Hashana. Tosa says, Akiras Galus Shenekrum Komam, that they now uprooted themselves from their original homes. That means something totally different, not what we defined until now. That means they now went into Galus like what? Bayis Rishon. That they had to go to Bavel. That they now had to go into exile, literally exile, the way we think of Galus, which means you have to go to America. We always interchange the word Galus with Chutz La'aretz. Not so clear. Tosfos is the one who explains it like that. Even Tosfos says, I wouldn't have said this on my own. What's the proof Tosfos says? Because if you're in the walls of, if you're in the borders of Eretz Yisrael, says Tosfos, what's the big deal? Why should we be Ma'aber Hashana? Even the furthest person standing at the borderline has the ability to make it from anywhere in Eretz Yisrael. How do I know, says Tosfos? Because it's a Beferish Gemara in Tainis. Because it's on your Perakam the Tainis, Gabe She'elas Kshamim, Tesvav Yom Achar. Why do we start asking Mashav Aruach Tesvav Yom Achar after Sukkot? Kidei sheyagia ha'achron shebiYisrael l'nar pras. So that what? The last person who was Oila L'Regel has the ability to get to the furthest home, which is where? On the border of Eretz Yisrael, as we learned in Parshas Maseh, which is Nar Pras. Right? So therefore, that's the amount of time it takes. So it says Taisus, so if you're talking about a Galus that's within Eretz Yisrael, so there's no reason everyone can make it. We know everyone can make it. So therefore, Taisus says, Akiras Makom, Galusha, an Ekron Makom, that now fits the bill for Ibbur Hashana, that Bezdin is now going to say that fits the criteria to be Ma'aber Hashana, that only means outside of Eretz Yisrael. A person, namely, going to America, living in Fairlawn. That's a person that I'm now going to take into account to be Ma'aber Hashana. Why? Because it's going to take a long time for such a person to be Oila L'Regel. He's not going to make it in time. Or to make what? To do Karban Pesach. One of the two. Good? Very bad. Very, very bad. Let's see a Tosusim Sachim. This is one of the most famous Tosusim Sachim. It's on one of the double-sided pages. There's a fascinating story in the beginning of Psachim. It's really a breath of fresh air because you go through the first blot of Psachim, first two Amud in the first blot of Psachim, everything's about choshech and light, and or larbasar is or meaning day, is or meaning night, and you're looking, you're mamash like in a desert. You need a sugya somewhere. Like give me some basar, give me some meat, give me some lumdis. Finally, there's something geschmack and unbelievable. It's an interesting sugya, but it's a fascinating story. The story at the beginning of the Gemara in Psachim talks about an individual. I think we've mentioned it in the past. An individual who really tricked all of the tzaddikim and the kohanim in the Beis Hamikdash, and he came and he was showing off to one of the rabbis in his community that he had the ability to eat from the Karban Pesach. And the halacha is that not only can a goy not eat from a Karban Pesach, even an Arel Yisrael can't eat from the Karban Pesach. So this is a big aveira. So he was showing off. He said, "Yeah, I told him I was Jewish. Really not for now. This is really a very important Gemara." That's the Tosus on top of this. This is a very important Gemara for Jewish identity in terms of gerus and believing people, whether or not, I remember we were sitting once on a bezdin, we were being megayer someone, and they were trying to convince us that they don't need gerus, that they were born Jewish. And so we asked her, it was a woman, we asked her, so what makes you think that you're Jewish? Just present some proof, and we're always open to hearing proof. And she turned back to us and she says, "What makes you think you're Jewish?" And I was like, "That's a good question." So that's a sugya psachim. That's a fascinating tosfos that's discussed over here. That discusses whether or not a person is believed. Because ultimately, this guy walked into the Beis Hamikdash and said, "I'm a Jew. Let me have some Karban Pesach," and that's basically how he got it. So he was showing off and. What? He told the Chabura that I'm Jewish. Sign me up. Yeah. Yeah, and it's also and we even if you don't have a Chabura, it's machlokes tanoim if Pesach is nishchad al yachid also, so it's not necessarily ma'akiv. It's machlokes tanoim. We paskin it's not ma'akiv, so it's not complicated that much. So then he said Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira found out about this. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira was in Bavel, and he found out about this, and this guy was showing off, and he said to them, very interesting. So the next year he told them, Did you ever taste the tail? Did you ever taste the tail? So they said, so he said, no. He's like, go next year, ask them for the tail. So he goes up there, and he's all confident and everything. He walks in there, and he says, do me a favor. I want the tail this year. And the tail is burnt on the Mizbeach. It's not eaten. So the Kohanim there said, why do you want the tail? So he said, I heard it's excellent. I heard it's delicious. So the Kohanim there asked, they said, who told you to ask for the tail? So they said, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. He says, I'm even tight with the Rabbanim. I know what to ask for. Says the Gemara, ends the Gemara. The Gemara knew that Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira was sending them a hidden message. They looked into it. They found out his details, and they killed him on the spot. The Gemara says they killed him. Why they killed him is also an excellent shaila, which I think we've discussed in the past. What's found in this Gemara? many, many different pshatim in this Gemara why he was chayiv misa for what he did. Where does it find itself in the categories of Shev Mitzvah Noach? Not for now, maybe Mitzvah Shem, the Pesach Habura for next year. So Taisus here is discussing a totally different topic. The story is fascinating, I just couldn't miss it. So Taisus says, wait a second. What's the deal with Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira? I mean, this guy is schlepping up there, it's Yisrael, and why is Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira staying around the bubble? Where's his Korban Pesach for Taisus? So Taisus says, in the third line, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, Shelo Ola L'Regel. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, that was not Ola L'Regel, so Taisus is asking a kasha, what's with Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira? Come on. Rabbi said, this is a Taisus that's nogeya to each and every one of us. Oh, I'm sorry. Right next, the second from the bottom. It's in Psachim, it's on the sheets. You have the sheets? Oh, wow. So I'm not sure what daf in the computer. So Taisus says, why wasn't he Yoel L'Regel for Taisus? That's Taisus' implied question. Yishleimer Shahaloi Hayaloi Karka. Taisus is quoting another Gemara in Daf Ches that says that the halacha is that when you leave to go on to be Oil L'Regel, person should not be concerned about his house being protected. Kadosh Baruch Hu's maftiach that your house will be protected, and Gemara learns out that a person that doesn't have karka is patur from Aliyah L'Regel. Or he had a ptur, like the Gemara in Chagiga says, he doesn't have the ability to walk, so such a person is patur from Aliyah L'Regel. So now Tosafos says something very strange. The patur mi pesach kemo miriyah. What did that just mean? Tosafos asks a kasha. Why wasn't Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira Oil L'Regel? Tosafos says he didn't have karka. Good. Then Tosafos says, or he was a zakin. Good. Now Tosafos says, and also from Pesach he was patur kemo miriyah. Why? Rabbi say, I have Gemaras that tell me why he's patur from Aliyah L'Regel. Why? He doesn't have karka. If you don't have karka, you're patur from Aliyah L'Regel. You're a zakin, you can't walk, you're patur from Aliyah L'Regel. What paters him from the chi of kares that you get punished with, that if you don't bring a Korban Pesach, you're chai of kares? What in the world is he playing games with? Zok Taisus is not a problem. Why? Taisus never deals with this. Says the tzlach on this Taisus, the Noda B'Yehuda, he says Taisus only asked the kasha from Aliyah L'Regel. Taisus was never bothered with the kasha from Korban Pesach. Why? Because Korban Pesach has a built-in ptur. What's the built-in exemption from Korban Pesach that Taisus wasn't even misyaches to? Taisus didn't even want to raise the issue. Taisus says it like as if he just coughs it up at the end, as if he slurs it at the end of his statement. He doesn't even have to prove it. Says the tzlach, everyone knows why you're patur from Korban Pesach. It's derech rechaika. Just like a person who's in Eretz Yisrael, who's tesvav mil, he's a certain distance from the time of the Zman of Korban Pesach on Erev Pesach. Your location on Erev Pesach plays a lot of ramifications la'alacha. It has nafkaminos whether or not you're going to be chayiv in Pesach Sheni this month and next month. There's a lot of ramifications where your location is on Erev Pesach at the Zman of Korban Pesach. Says the tzlach, so that was the ptur of Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. He's no different than a guy who just couldn't make it. He couldn't make it. Ptur of derech rechaika. And that's what Taisus means. And therefore, I took care of all my issues. Why didn't Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira go up? He's patur from Aliyah L'Regel. Why? He doesn't have karka. Or he's a zakin. I can give you a few different reasons. And by the way, you want to know why he was patur from Pesach? That Taisus didn't even have to deal with. It's because he was out of town. Out of town is patur even in Eretz Yisrael. That's what the tzlach says. Comes along the Minchas Chinuch, even he was not in Eretz Yisrael, but even if he was in Eretz Yisrael, says the tzlach, he would have the same exemption. Comes along the Minchas Chinuch, and the Minchas Chinuch says, Chalila v'chas. How could the tzlach, we have machlekes, you see, this is something that recurs. The Minchas Chinuch and the tzlach, they weren't so happy with each other on different sugyas, totally different mitzvah, but the Minchas Chinuch jumps on the tzlach, he says, how could you say something like this? And Rabbi say this debate is something fundamental between the Minchas Chinuch and the tzlach that has ramifications legabe every mitzvah that we're obligated in. Says the Minchas Chinuch, Rabbi tzlach, Rosh Hashanah is coming up. Rosh Hashanah is coming up. So what happens? Comes Rosh Hashanah. I never asked Sid to bring a shofar. Honest Rachmana Patre. I don't have a shofar on Rosh Hashanah. What do you want from my life? Says the Minchas Chinuch, what do I want from your life? I want you to take the next 7 weeks, how long? 7 weeks, and buy a shofar. Put some ishtadlus in. Start walking. Start putting in the effort, says the Minchas Chinuch. Derech rechoika? You call a guy not trying to travel, not even looking on dance deals to even look for a certain cheap flight. You call that trying to have the tour of Derech Rechaika? Derech Rechaika, says the Minchas Chinuch, is a person who was hiking. He was trying. All the cabs were taken, and he couldn't get there, and then he got stuck. What's he supposed to do? That's Derech Rechaika. Says the Minchas Chinuch, a guy sat at home. That's the Derech Rechaika? Says the Minchas Chinuch, he misunderstood the Tosfos. The Tzlach did not read this Tosfos correctly. Comes along the Tzlach and rereads the Tosfos. Tosfos was bothered by both Chiyuvim, both Aliyah L'Regel and Korban Pesach. And whatever Tosfos answers for one, Tosfos answers for the other. And therefore, according to the Minchas Chinuch, you have an unbelievable chiddush. If a person does not own karka in Eretz Yisrael, he's patur from not only Aliyah L'Regel, he's patur from Korban Pesach. We don't have any sources for that. Who in the world links? The Mishnah Melech reads this Tosfos, like the Minchas Chinuch, and he says, where have you found a source anywhere that connects the chiyuv of bringing a Korban Pesach? There are certain mitzvahs that have to do with karka. Trumas, maisrus, agricultural mitzvahs. That I understand. It's if you have karka in Eretz Yisrael, then you're obligated in that mitzvah. Korban Pesach? What does that have to do with karka in Eretz Yisrael? And yet, the way the Minchas Chinuch reads it, why? Because hashkafically, he can't accept that tzlach is limud. And this is such a hashkafic machlokes. Minchas Chinuch says, Pek kadosh yomer davar zeh, that you don't have to put in the effort for mitzvahs. You don't have to try to find a flight. You don't have to try to put in the effort to try to get a cab to get to Yerushalayim. That you're going to apply the tour of the exemption of Derech Rechaika, that I'm 15 miles away, you didn't even try to get in. Says the Minchas Chinuch, avad and avad, you have to try to get a lulav, you have to try to get an etzor, and you have to try to do Korban Pesach. There's no difference. So it says the Minchas Chinuch, yeah, what? There's a p'tur if you don't have karka in Eretz Yisrael. Inami, Tosfos goes on according to the Minchas Chinuch, nitzivin chutz la'aretzi, kidamrinon bisifri, parshas re'eh. No, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira was in Nitzivim. And where is that? That's in Chutz La'aretz. And therefore what? Comes along the Minchas Chinuch, according to the way he's reading this Tosfos, because he can't accept the Tzlach's approach, and comes along the Minchas Chinuch and says a further chiddush in the second day of Tosfos. Not only, so the first day I want to be mechadish that for Korban Pesach and Aliyah L'Regel, what do I need? I need to own karka in Eretz Yisrael. Says the second day in Tosfos, no, even if you own karka in Eretz Yisrael. I have an apartment in Rechavia. Yeah, Vada. So then according to the first day, you should be chayiv in Korban Pesach, and you should be chayiv in Aliyah L'Regel. Not if I'm in fair lawn, says the second day in Tosfos. If you're in Chutz La'aretz, Tosfos makes up some magic drasha. We have no idea where he got this from. Again, only according to the Minchas Chinuch's limud, that what? That there's a halacha that anyone who's in Chutz La'aretz is patur from Korban Pesach. Really, you don't want to think about this Tosfos comes Pesach and we're still in the Galus, because this really cuts us out of the whole chiyuv of Korban Pesach. No matter how many apartments you buy, no matter how much real estate you have, according to the second day in Tosfos, sorry, nothing doing. You don't have any shaykhs to Korban Pesach. You tell this to someone on the street, they'll tell you, what? This is not a mitzvah tluya ba'aretz. This is not an agricultural mitzvah. Yeah, but you're in Chutz La'aretz. And Tosfos has no other way to learn Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira unless he says this pshat. So once... Meaning, do you have a kiyum you want to say? I don't think so, because you can't bring a Korban Pesach b'neder u'nedava. Korban Pesach is like a chatas. I can never bring a chatas b'teres neder u'nedava. Only an oila and a shlamim could be b'neder u'nedava. So if I bring a Pesach, Pesach has a similarity to chatas. Pesach shaloi l'shma, every other Korban shaloi l'shma is hooker of neder u'nedava. Korban Pesach shaloi l'shma is pasul. So you see that there has to be a chi of Korban Pesach. I don't know. I don't know if they knew he came from Chutz La'aretz.
He said, I heard it from you.
No, that was once. That was until all the cards drops.
Right.
That was a dead man walking. You're right.
No, but I'm saying, but that line right there should have been.
So he didn't know halacha. You're right. According to Taisus, he shouldn't have said that for other reasons.
No,
but it wouldn't have gotten killed.
No, right there, but then right then and there, they wouldn't have accepted him.
Right, but now they figured out how to kill him. Meaning that thing, you're right. According to Taisus, now they would have known, oh, wait a second. No. You're right. A Rav would have said, by the way, you're putter. According to Taisus. Mishnah Malch says he thinks his Taisus is crazy. Rambam never brings down such a halacha. Rambam never connects Chutz La'aretz to Korban Pesach. We all are obligated in Korban Pesach according to the Rambam and all other Rishonim. Taisus connects it. But you're right. So the rabbi would have said, you're putter. Now he said something. Rabbi Yehuda Meseir says, I don't want you to putter. I want you to kill this guy. So that's what we figured out. Yeah.
But you also see from this that Chachamim are going to be, in Eretz Yisrael, are going to be Ma'aver Hashanah.
Excellent. So this is what I'm getting at. So if you turn the other side of this page, let me just show you what sefer I'm quoting over here. There's a lot of hana that I'm getting over here. This sefer is from Reb Chaim Kanievsky's house. That is the only place you can get this sefer, to the best of my knowledge. You have to buy it in his house. This is Reb Chaim Kanievsky's sefer. Most of his svarim are black. He wrote, or brown, I'm sorry. He wrote Mishnah Brura styles, right? The Mishnah Brura takes the Shulchan Aruch on top, then he gives all his psachim in the Mishnah Brura, and then he gives all the sources in the Sharat Tzion, that's the Mishnah Brura, and then he elaborates in the Bir Halacha. So Reb Chaim Kanievsky, his Galus, does not write a sefer on anything that the Stipler, his father, wrote on. So if you want to know why Reb Chaim Kanievsky doesn't write on the classic Masechtas, the reason is because the Kehilas Yaakov, his father, Rabbi Yisrael Yaakov Kanievsky, he was the one who wrote on all these Masechtas. So Reb Chaim writes on Kodshim, but he doesn't only write Shtiklach Torah on Kodshim. He writes Kodshim halacha lamaisa, as if he's writing a Mishnah Brura. So the Rambam, we don't have Shulchan Aruch on Kodshim, on Korbanos, so the Rambam is on top, is the one who comments on all the halachas in Kodshim. Then here he elaborates a little more with the Psak halacha, and here he has all the elaborate Bir halachas, and here's where all the sources are. So he finished all of Kodshim, that's the brown set, Derech Emunah, Derech Chachma, and then, Derech Emunah is on Zroim, and Derech Chachma is on Kodshim, and this is usually, he writes a sefer every Shana Mu'uberes. Why is every Shana Mu'uberes? Whenever there's an leap year, Reb Chaim has a cycle. My son just asked me how often Reb Chaim is Messiahim Shas Mishnayos. So this mamash just happened 10 minutes ago. So I said, how often is Reb Chaim Messiahim Shas Mishnayos? Reb Chaim Kanievsky is Messiahim Kol Torah Kula every year. And then he has an extra month in a Shana Mu'uberes that in the cycle. So in that extra month, he writes a sefer like this. A sefer that is on Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh of the Rambam and Hilchos Shkolim. That's why it's called Shekel HaKodesh. And it's the blue sefer. So the Reb Chaim quotes this halacha that we're learning from Gemara in Sanhedrin, and it's just unbelievable. You just take a look at all the sources that he has. So look at what the Rambam got a little cut off.
It's your finger.
It's my finger?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So it's the end of the Rambam in Halacha Hey. Upnei Galus Yisrael shenekrum imkomam. He's quoting our Gemara. V'adayin lo igilu Yushalayim ma'abernes hashana. Kedei sheyil lem pnai la'agia. The Rambam sounds exactly like we read in Rashi. They didn't establish their new homes, and they're going to have a tough time coming to Yerushalayim. So let's just see the Shekel HaKodesh, which is the equivalent to the Mishnah Brura. No, one second. Lamed. Shenekrum Imkomam. Shenishna lebezdin, exactly what Rashi says. It was heard about the bezdin that they were nekrum imkomam, that they don't have their own houses, and that the Galus actually kicked them out of their homes. Vidafka shekvar higiu lenahar pras. Where did Reb Chaim just add that in his Mishnah Brura from? Go to Lamed Tes in the Tzion Halacha. Tzion Halacha, Lamed Tes, Yerushalmi Sanhedrin Parak Aleph Halacha Tes. Yerushalmi adds something into our Gemara that wasn't there. Yerushalmi says these people that were uprooted from their homes because of the Galus, and they weren't able to what? Yet come to Yerushalayim. Says the Yerushalmi, but they already are past where? The Gvul of Nahar Pras. We don't know that from our Rishonim. And if anything, who disagrees with that? Tosfos. Right? Tosfos says they're way far. Nekrum and Koma means they're in the Galus, they're in America, they're in Chutz La'aretz. Why does Reb Chaim, why does the Rambam add that in? Why does the Reb Chaim, why does the Yerushalmi have to add that in? So, you want an explanation? Go to the Bir Halacha. Kedeshi elem pnai lagia. You see in the Bir Halacha on the other side, is where he elaborates. The star. Everyone with me? Miloshen Rabbeinu mashma shehu kedei sheyachol lekayim mitzvahs aliyah l'regel. From the Rambam, it sounds like this is in order to be obligated in mitzvahs aliyah l'regel. K'mosh kasav baruch hashulchan. V'Rashi perish, and Rashi added in sheyichlu lahakriv pischayim, so that they have the ability to what? Rashi and Ardaf says to get to Yerushalayim in time. What? For the Karban Pesach, for Yom Tov Pesach. Vayin ba'agos b'nei Binyamin. And the Agos B'nei Binyamin asked the following question. Mikan, al das ha-toisvis psachim gimel amid beis. 1 second. Says the Agos B'nei Binyamin. Exactly Dr. Bacon's question. What happened to toisvis psachim dalin amid beis? Diram eschol me'alya. The B'nei Chutz La'aretz, that people in Fairlawn, pturin miri'iyah umi pesach. If you read Tosos, who's he reading Tosos like? Like the Minchas Chinuch, that holds there's a ptur, there's an exemption of Karban Pesach, not only of Aliyah L'Regel, but also of Karban Pesach if you live in Chutz La'aretz. So then what? Then this whole Gemara makes no sense. So why are they being Ma'aber Hashana? It makes no sense. Im ken kasha, bein leferish Rabbeinu, bein leferish Rashi. V'yesh loimer de lachein amru b'Yerushalmi. No, says Reb Chaim, that's exactly where the Yerushalmi was coming from. The Yerushalmi added in what? Yeah, they went to Fairlawn. They're in Galus. They're out of town. But what? Now they're past Nahar Pras. If they're past Nahar Pras, they're in Eretz Yisrael. Now they have the ability to be Chayiv in Karban Pesach. Says Reb Chaim, goes on Reb Chaim, and Reb Chaim says, unbelievable. This is the answer to the Mishnah Melech's question. This is the Yerushalmi. This is the source. From Ibbur Hashana, we have the answer to that Shas question of Tosos and Psachim Gimel Mabez. Where is there any source that links the Chiyuv of Karban Pesach to being in Eretz Yisrael? Says Reb Chaim, this Yerushalmi, why they have to pass Nahar Pras? Why they have to already be in Eretz Yisrael? The answer is because otherwise there's no Chiyuv Karban Pesach. Says Reb Chaim, unbelievable, he threads and needles together all these different Yerushalmis and Bavlis that you would never think. You're learning Psachim, what would I even think of the Sugya of an Ibbur Hashana? And Zok Reb Chaim, and that's what this whole Taklin Chadash, this whole Bir Halacha, is going through different sources in Shas of whether or not there's any mucker to being in Eretz Yisrael, not being in Chutz La'aretz, for the Chiyuv not only of Aliyah L'Regel, but the Chiyuv of Karban Pesach. Then he quotes in Yana D'Yayma, he says maybe there's a raya from the Gemara Megillah. He says from Ezra that Ezra was not Oila L'Regel, was not Oila from Bavel right away. What does the Gemara Megillah say? Why was he not Oila? We quoted this at the Siyum, at my son's Siyum. Ezra said because he has to learn from his Rebbe. That was the raya that we brought, that Tinoika Shel Beis Rabbam, that are not Chayiv and Binyan Beis HaMikdash, might not only be Tinoika Shel Beis Rabbam. It might also be people that are learning in a way that they can't get from this Talmud Torah from another person. There's a certain shaykhus and a connection with that Rebbe. So as Reb Chaim, he brings rayas. I don't understand. The halacha was they built it when they were oila from Bavel, when Ezra didn't come, they built the Mizbeach and they already started being Makriv Karban Pesach already before the Binyan Abayis. So ask Reb Chaim, what's Pshat in that Gemara Megillah? Bishlama Ezra doesn't want to be Baina Beis HaMikdash. The Gemara has a limud. He's learning from his Rebbe. Where do we ever find a source that learning from a Rebbe is mevatel from the Chi of Kares, the punishment of Kares, of not bringing a Karban Pesach? Says Reb Chaim, it's another raya. He was in Chutz La'aretz. Chutz La'aretz is not a Chiyuv. You don't have a Chiyuv of Karban Pesach. He was out of town. Out of town is not Chayiv in Karban Pesach. So just a few halachas that are really connected to Inyana D'Yoyma about the chiyuvim that according to some we don't have, and that's exactly why this Yerushalmi would have to add in order to answer for Taisus and Psachim that holds there's no chiyuv Karban Pesach. Then you would have to add in the words of the Yerushalmi in order to resolve this issue of why they would be ma'aber Hashanah for the Karban Pesach for these people. So the Gemara goes on. Taner Rabbanan, next brayso. Ein ma'abernes Hashanah loy mipnei agdiyim v'loy mipnei atzloim v'loy mipnei agozolos. We're not ma'abernes Hashanah because of the size of the animals. Which animals? Says Rashi, gdiyim v'tloim. The gdiyim v'tloim, says Rashi, shahayu dakin, that they were very thin. Ein ma'aberin alein k'dei sheyigdalu. We don't push off the year an extra month so that the gdiyim are a little bit fatter, we can get a little more meat. What's the potential concern? What's the suggestion over here? Suggestion over here that's suggested to Bezdin, do me a favor. Push off the year a month. Give us an extra month for Pesach. Why? Because I'm going to have this ganze chabura, and my gdi is going to have no flesh on it. How am I going to serve all the people over here? Let's fatten these animals up a little bit for an extra month. Says the Gemara, that's not a good enough reason to be ma'aber Hashanah.
It has a meter? It has some, you have to be a size?
No, it has to be an age. It has to be an age. It doesn't have to be an age. No, this was a practical need. No, that's exactly what the Gemara is telling. The Gemara is saying there is no size. A Karban Pesach kosher. You know what? It might cost you a little more. You have to split up and have, in order to get you have to make sure that everyone eats a kazayis. That is a chiyuv. Everyone has to eat a kazayis.
This is a national concern that no one has the right to, like, it's not like a weather-based thing, that when no one has...
It is, because it's early in the year.
So the animals grow in this...
No, because it's a cycle of when they're actually born.
I don't know.
That's part of the thing.
It could be
It's connected to the cycle
I'm
of
sure,
the year.
I'm sure it could be dependent on the agriculture of that year, how much they ate. I'm saying usually, when there's a lot of crops, so then the animals get fatter.
That's actually when the animals are born. I mean, there are cycles for
Right.
time that sheep are born.
Right. Right. So says the Gemara, that's not a good reason. Gozalos. Listen to this Rashi. Gozalos. Shetzrichin, what do you need gozalos? Gozalos are birds, are chicks. Shetzrichin lekine yoldos. You need it for the carbon that the yoledes has to bring after she gives birth. Shebechol Eretz Yisrael, and all the yoldos in Eretz Yisrael. The chen zavin v'zavos, and also the carbon of a man and a woman that has a certain secretion. Shekulin mashin kineim adalos and laregel. That when do they bring these carbonos? When they're around town. When they're able to, when it's accessible, when they come to do aliyah laregel. Af al pichein ein ma'abring al kach sheyichon lahavi b'nei yoyna sheksherim kshem ktanim. Because they can bring the small ones. So Rashi has to kvetch a little bit what this has to do with Yontif. Rashi says, where do you find a bird, a gozal, when it comes to Yontif? So Rashi says, no, it doesn't mean Yontif. Really, there's no carbon that exists on Yontif that comes from a bird offering. However, says Rashi, but it probably meant that when people came to be Oila L'Regel, and they happened to be a woman that gave birth, or they happened to have been a Zav and a Zava, so then they're going to take care of all those obligations in one shot. You're not going to want to pay for two trips there. They're in the neighborhood. So that's why Ibbur Hashanah was relevant over here. So that's the reason that potentially the psak in the Gemara is that they're not. But that would have been a reason to help society to be ma'aber Hashanah. Comes along the Yer Sameach, and he says something unbelievable, and this is a collector's item. If you open up the Rambam in the beginning of Hilchas Chagiga, the Rambam says something that no other Rishon says. And there are actually Gemaras that are mashma the opposite. The halacha is that when I came to be Oila L'Regel, I couldn't just show my face. I had to bring a carbon Oilas Re'iyah. That was my chiyuv. I had to bring a certain carbon Ola that represented the fact that I'm now being motzi my chiyuv of Re'iyah. Re'iyah's panim ba'azara means with a carbon. It doesn't only mean to just show up. That's why Pashtus says there's no mitzvah of aliyah l'regel, because there's no way to bring a carbon. However, the Rambam in the beginning, in the first halacha in Perek Aleph, Hilchos Chagiga, where he's talking about the chiyuv of aliyah l'regel, the Rambam says a person has the ability to bring a korban oilas hariyah, bein min ha-me'ema, bein min ha-of. And the Nosei Kalim think that it's against all of Shas. There's no Gemara like this. It's not true. And we don't have time to go into it, but there's a Gemara in Zvachim on Daf Hey that's discussing a detailed halacha of lishma. Not the Gemara is discussing the whole beginning of Maseches Zvachim. All of Maseches, actually, it's interesting. The whole beginning of Maseches Zvachim and the whole beginning of Maseches Menachos is all about one issue: bringing a korban shelo lishma. A person who thinks about the wrong thought process when he brought a korban, either the wrong owner, the wrong korban. That's all the Gemara Zvachim, Gemara Menachos, all the first a chunk of the Masechta. So the Gemara says, how do you know that it's still kosher and that it's not fulfilling the full obligation? I'm going to sum up the Gemara because we don't have time to go through it. So the Gemara says that Tzad HaShava we learn from all the karbanos, including olas re'iyah, says the Gemara. The Gemara says olas ha'of shekin yeshnam b'tzibur. So Reb Kiva Eger here has a kasha, where do we ever find an olas ha'of, a bird ola that's yeshnam b'tzibur? So the answer is this Rambam. The Rambam holds that a person who brings a korban ola when he's ola l'regel, he doesn't have to bring such a big behema animal. He has the ability to bring even an oaf. So you'll take my word for it that it's against a lot of Gemaras. So ask the Or Sameach, one of the defenders, or Meir Simcha, of the Rambam, asked the Or Sameach, so where did the Rambam get it from? So where was the Rambam source? Says the Or Sameach, did anyone learn Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph? This is a good pshat in the Gemara. Says the Or Sameach, what's Rashi's pshat in the Gemara? Why are you bringing gozalos? Because I happen to have taken a bus, and I'm happy to be already Oilo L'Regel, and now I happen to be a Zav and a Zava, and I happen to be a Yoledis, I gave birth, and I happen to have to bring a korban, a bird offering. So that's what the Gemara is talking about. Says the Or Sameach, the Rambam read the Gemara Kapshuto. The Rambam now is a chiddush la'alacha that you don't have to schlep so much for aliyah l'regel. You don't have to bring your behemoths. You could just bring that little chick into your pocket. You might get stuck at customs, but you can just sneak it in. Says the Rambam, because that is the chiyuv. We're all talking about one sugi over here. What sugi over here? The mitzvah of aliyah l'regel. The mitzvah of karbonis. Says the Rambam, this mitzvah of aliyah l'regel had a gozal. Which one? The olas re'iyah, that korban, and that's how the Rambam knew against all other Rishonim. From our Gemara, says the Or Sameach, brilliant. Says the Or Sameach, that's how the Rambam, from the fact that there was a possibility to be ma'aberes hashana because the gozalos, the chickens, are too small, because the birds are too small. Says the Or Sameach, that's how the Rambam knew it must be for aliyah l'regel. You could actually bring a chicken, a gozal.
It's all about practicality for the people traveling. Same thing with the drop. Same thing with the,
Oh, excellent.
with the Megillah.
Right,
And
right,
the Megillah different
right,
because they were coming to base it anyway.
right,
It's all about practicality.
right.
It's not, that
So,
doesn't mean
so that begs, that was Itai's question last week. Itai asked if it's all about practicality, and if the drachim are messed up, so why not snow? So why not? And now I'm going to add to Itai's question. So why not gozalos? So why not gedayim? Understand? Some things yes, some things not. So if you take the approach we spoke last week that each one of these things are actually a halacha l'Moshe Sinai, and they all have biblical sources, so then I have nothing to ask. Kach nemer halacha. That's the halacha. The halacha was said by certain things and certain things not. But we learned last week the Minchas Chinuch and the Chidushei Aran learned the pshat is in this Gemara. No, it's like Leo said last week. It's whatever Bezdin says in the areas of calendar, that's what's chal. Atem afilu shoygigin, atem afilu mezidin, atem afilu mutim, and if you're making a mistake, you control time. Sayit, I asked if you control time, so what's pshat in this Gemara? Apparently the Ran's wrong. Apparently the Minchas Chinuch's wrong, because for some reason there are limitations to their... So the Minchas Chinuch asks Itai's question, and asks what David's asking right now. If so, you're now losing the ability. Why? Who restricted you? So you have to learn this Gemara is a din midrabanan. Hey mamru ve'hei mamru. Really, minat Torah, any rationale should work. Minat Torah, whatever you want. Even if you made a mistake, even if you were told the wrong information, it's chal. It's like Kiddush HaChodesh, it's like Ibbur Hashana. So why are there limitations? Bezdin got together and said, you know what? these are not good enough reasons. So even if a rabbi wants to think in one generation that this is a good reason, we're going to midrabanan on a rabbinic level limit their authority and the ability to be ma'aber for that reason. But on a level of deraisa, according to the Ran, according to Minchas Chinuch, you should have had the capacity. You should have had that ability. All right, Rabbi said we're going to stop here, but we have to learn the most important Gemara, most important halacha learned. Mir Hashem will do it next week. I'll just open up with the question. The Gemara is going to quote a brisa. We're going to see a whole story from Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel sent letters, Mir Hashem, we're going to learn next week. Rabbi Gamliel sent letters to all the people in the different areas of the locations, and one of the letters happened to be that he's being Ma'abras Hashana. And why was he being Ma'abras Hashana? Because what? The Gemara says, really because the Zman, because of the season. The season was off. And then he added on another reason, which wasn't really the real reason, because we just said that's not enough of a reason on its own, but also because the animals for Korban Pesach were too small. Rabbi said Rabbi Gamliel was when? Rabbi Gamliel was after Churban HaMikdash. Why is this letter discussing Karbanos after Churban HaMikdash? That's a question that the Ran opens up on our Gemara. Mir Hashem next week we'll deal with that question.